Hello learners, welcome back to the course on AI in Human Resource Management. Today we move to the 7th module, which is in fact the continuation of the previous module where we are looking at innovation and human resource management. I am Dr. Abraham Sirlaisek. I am an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now when you look into even the previous module, I started like this. You look into AI or you hear the buzzword AI or ML for that matter, what comes to your mind is ChatGPT. Now we cannot, imagine a world without ChatGPT. It has come to that extent. And this is where the relevance of generative AI or Gen AI becomes critical. Now, in this context, we have to understand human resource management, how it evolves or how it is evolving in this dynamics. So when you look into specifically the age of Gen AI, what is Gen AI? Let's start from that. What separates it from the initial models, or let's say even there are some people who are not well versed with Gen AI. They used to ask me, what is the difference between the previous models or normal search engines, etc. What I will definitely try to incorporate here as a solution or as an answer to that question would be contextual learning. Now, when you look into Gen AI, it has the ability to understand the context, based upon the context, develop its responses, and has a continuous learning process. Now, this is what differentiates, this is what distinguishes Gen AI from previous models. Gen AI or GAI, as it is known now, involves using machine learning models to create new content, such as it could be text, it could be audio, images, code, and simulations based on a large data sets and the subsequent training. When you are looking into Gen AI, you ask anything, there is a solution. And sometimes it has happened, if you have noticed, I don't know, that ChatGPT, let's say some of the responses you are getting previously were quite, if I can use the word, substandard, or maybe with respect to what you were expecting, it was not giving that output. Sometimes it again refurbishes or becomes more superior and gives some of the fantastic answers or responses. So it depends on the training that is being imparted, the profile, the logic, or the data which it is trained in. So when you look into Gen AI, we have to understand that it is something which has captured the human mankind to a great extent, and how human resource management will evolve during the era of Gen AI is what the innovation and HR part that will be discussed today. Now let's look into this in greater detail. When you look into the integration of GAI in HRM, specifically what we understand with respect to AI is that Gen AI specifically is distinct from the previous technological innovations. Now that said, when you're looking into this integration, since its inception, the adoption of AI tools in HR has been slow. There is no doubt about it. Still, you look into Gen AI, which can synthesize information from various sources and swiftly summarize data, provides significant advantages to the HRM field. And we are in the quest to understand and appreciate these set of advantages. Now, when you look into Gen AI, let's first understand what are they? What are the different types of GAI specifically for HRM? We have the most common, the most popular one, ChatGPT. Now, when you look into ChatGPT, it is Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Is a generative AI that produces human-like conversational text. So it uses specifically a chat interface and remembers previous interactions with users to offer more interactive and refined responses. So let's say from writing job descriptions or creating, let's say, tailored career development plans to supporting employee self-service, ChatGPT plays a vital role in evolving this landscape of human resources and specifically the workplace dynamics. So most of you or most of us would have definitely used this ChatGPT for one or the other reason, or at least for simple testing we would have used. So we have seen the enormous potential ChatGPT has, and this is what I wanted to relate it with human resource management in general. When you look into other options or the other types, we have the DAL-E. DAL-E is an innovative AI tool again from OpenAI. It creates realistic images and artwork based on simple text prompts. So let's say when you talk about DAL-E, it is all about leveraging an advanced deep learning model. It generates high quality, detailed visuals that the HR departments can actually use to illustrate, let's say, safety policies, working rules, and even, let's say, in case of warnings, some hazardous warnings, etc. So when you look into DAL-E's potential, it is exciting, offering very new opportunities for creativity and visual communication in employee training and workplace safety. Then we have Bard. Bard is again quite popular these days after Microsoft integrated GPT into Bing. If you had, you would have definitely heard that. Google introduced its own generative AI chatbot, which is Google Bard. So, unlike traditional keyboard searches, Google Bard delivers results based on natural language queries and context. So, this is what differentiates or distinguishes it from the basic search engines. So, in strategic HR analytics, let's look into that. Google Bard enhances predictive hiring by analyzing job related documents to pinpoint, let's say, key skills or qualifications for a position. So, that is one thing. Also, it can forecast if an employee may leave the company by assessing their behavior and past interaction. So, basically, you are doing a check mechanism both at the entry and when the employee is there within the system. Now, let's look into the guidelines for effective prompts in using GAI. I think this would be one of the most useful material you will come across within this lecture. First is you have to clarify the topic. There is no better cue than to clarify the topic. You should have a clear understanding what you want and what you're going to give as an input. Specify the particular area of HRM you are inquiring about. Let's say you are looking into, let's say, recruitment, or you are looking into diversity, or you are looking into performance management. State the question or problem clearly. For instance, let's look into some of the possible prompts. Let's say you are asking what are the best practices in recruitment for tech startups. Is more specific than tell me about recruitment. Rather than very open-ended questions, you might have specific questions which would give better results to a great extent. The second important guideline would be to provide a relevant organizational context. Now, when you look into the whole working of GenAI, specifically context is very critical. As I've already mentioned, contextual learning, context is very critical. When you are going to give a prompt, include details about the industry, let's say some important inputs like company size or region or any specific policies that may apply for that matter. So, mention any unique organization culture, or if there are some constraints, mention that. Given that we are a mid-sized, something like software company with a diverse workforce, how should we structure our diversity and inclusion initiatives? This could be a good prompt, or this could be a good question with all the details incorporated into the statement. Or let's say another example, how can we tailor our training programs for our Gen Z employees? Be very specific in giving the Gen AI the required input. Now, third important aspect could be precise HRM terminology. Sometimes it happens that, why your answers are of lesser quality would be that you might not be using the required, HRM terminology. Employ clear and specific HRM terms to guide the model and avoid ambiguity. So, utilize standard HRM languages, language or jargons or words that aligns with industry best practices. Maybe as an example, I can say, how can we enhance our employee value proposition, EVP, to attract top talent? This would be a more specific question and you will get more of a high quality response to that. Another important guideline would be indicate the desired outcome or desired action. This should be specific. What you specifically want has to be communicated unequivocally. Without that, you are not going to get any certain outcome, or maybe what you actually expect would not be the outcome. So when you look into the things which you want, explain what you hope to achieve or the particular recommendation you seek. Specify if you need a strategic overview or just tactical steps. An example would be, what strategies can we implement to reduce employee turnover by 10% in the next year? So you have put across not only employee turnover, you're given a percentage to that, and you're given a time frame to that. This would be, more of something that is in line with the desired outcome or what you want or what you expect. Now, request evidence-based outcome is at another guideline. Ask for supporting evidence, research or citations if you need substantiated information for that. Ask for if you need substantiated information. Ask for case studies or examples to understand the practical application of, let's say, certain strategies. You can ask something like, can you provide a case study, a research study, or a research paper, expert testimonial, or even a citation from an authoritative source, from an authentic source that describes a company that successfully revamped its performance management system. So this could be more critical, more clear, more lucid. Adhere to best practice. Strive to adhere to best practices. Adhering to best practices promptly mitigates the need for costly and time consuming corrective measures, thereby optimizing operational efficiency and, to a certain extent, resource allocation. So ask, let's say, if you're using ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT to provide detailed insights and recommendations based on established best practices in a specific domain or field, and emphasize critical strategies and principles for achieving an optimal outcome. You also have to maintain confidentiality. When I'm talking about maintaining confidentiality, I'm trying to underscore, avoid sharing sensitive or personal information about employees or the organization, because in the end of the day, whatever technology you are going to use, privacy is of greater concern. So use general or anonymized terms if describing confidential scenarios. And finally, engage in follow-up communication. When you're using Gen AI, please ask follow-up questions for clarification or additional information. Provide systematic feedback if the initial response needs a certain refinement. So take an interactive prompting approach by asking multi-step questions. It could be, let's say, 10 or 20 iterations. So approach the Gen AI or things like ChatGPT as though you are approaching a co-worker in a conversation. This would be the bottom line. Please understand that, again, it is a sort of intelligence and it is trying to learn. So it's always better to have a very careful approach towards Gen AI. Now let's look into role of GAI in HRM, different processes, different roles. Let's look into that in greater detail. Now, when you look into the role of ChatGPT or similar Gen AI in HRM specifically, we can have different processes of human resource management and classify it accordingly and understand it accordingly, which will be my attempt here. But let's understand that in our fast changing technological environment, AI serves as a very important transformative force. It impacts various industries, including human resource management, without doubt. Now, among the advancements in AI, these Gen AI tools, be it ChatGPT or such other tools, have significantly changed how business manage HR functions. Generative AI refers to systems that generate human-like text responses based on given inputs. So this technology has made substantial inroads into human resource management without doubt, streamlining processes, improving communication, and boosting overall efficiency. So when you look into role of GAI in HRM, this particular segment examines the crucial role of this Gen AI and other Gen AI technologies, related technologies in HRM, analyzing their effects on different functions, and this is what is going to follow. But before that, I would like to mention one interesting experience I had. Recently, I went for a training program and there was a discussion about the use of ChatGPT. So the speaker, he was mentioning that, usually my emails were not that good, but you should read my email now. It has improved drastically in terms of quality, and thanks to ChatGPT that he's giving input and he's getting good output with respect to the refined writing style, etc. Then there was a segment of audience which, they wanted to have a difference in opinion because they feel that there is no need, it actually kills creativity. Now, these are the two sides of the same coin. When you use the technology, let's say you look into any particular technology, every single technology will have its downside. It will have its certain disadvantages or demerits. And now, whether you want to stick on to that or whether you want to actually try to conquer, let's say in the initiation of or the usage, initial use of computers and all, there were people who were actually going against that it may kill jobs, it may take away a lot of manpower or working hours, etc. But see how computer and internet has defined today's world. So I certainly believe that ChatGPT happens to be such a disruptive technology, and specifically Gen AI has, or AI in general, would be very much critical with respect to different functions of HRM. Specifically, we'll be discussing that. But please note that when you are looking into Gen AI, there is a word of caution that sometimes there are opportunities or there are options where you can be creative. Now, you are getting more addicted to that. There might be options, or there might be possibility rather, that you may have lost the touch of, let's say it would be writing or giving some of the wonderful responses. But that said, it's always advisable to approach Gen AI with a caution. Now let's look into the critical aspects or the features of Gen AI, or the role of Gen AI specifically in different processes in greater detail. Let's start with the recruitment process. When you look into the recruitment process, there are critical aspects of screening, candidate interaction, interview preparation, etc. When you look into the initial screening, Gen AI systems, I'm just taking it as synonymous, ChatGPT, simplify the job application screening process by automating initial communications. So these systems typically evaluate resume, cover letters, providing tailored responses to candidates according to the set criteria. This approach not only saves time for the HR professionals, but remember, it also guarantees timely and uniform responses to all applicants, ultimately improving the candidate experience. When you look into candidate interaction, let's say Gen AI interacts with candidates in real time, responding to common inquiries about the company culture, job role, application progress, whatever the question, whatever the problems or whatever the queries the applicants are having. So by providing immediate answers, Gen AI boosts candidates' engagement, ensuring that prospective employees remain informed and engaged throughout the hiring process. When you look into interview preparation, again, Gen AI has a critical role to play in interview preparation. It supports candidates in preparing for interviews by simulating various interview situations and offering feedback to their answers. So generally something which otherwise were done by mentors, or maybe because of the paucity of time, sometimes even mentors were not able to carry forward that or undertake this process, Gen AI comes for a greater help here. So this capability allows candidates to improve their responses, enhance their confidence, and ultimately perform better in interviews. When you look into other processes or the other roles, specifically you have a critical role in onboarding process. When you look into onboarding, please note, during the onboarding process, new employees frequently have many inquiries regarding, could be company policies, procedures, culture, etc. So generative AI offers immediate answers, making sure that new hires feel supported and knowledgeable from the very beginning. This tailored interaction fosters a positive onboarding experience, leading to increased employee satisfaction and, to a certain extent, greater retention rates. When you look into employee assistance, Employee assistance is also significant because chatbots powered by Gen AI serves as virtual assistants, helping employees with inquiries about HR policies, leave balances, details like that, or benefits and other topics, etc. So when you look into employee assistance, this allows, specifically Gen AI allows employees to receive accurate and prompt information without having to reach out directly to HR staff, thereby saving time for both employees and HR professionals. You also have the critical role of Gen AI in survey and feedback. ChatGPT, let's say a Gen AI tool which we all know, streamlines the process of conducting employee surveys and collecting feedback in many organizations these days. So by utilizing interactive surveys, Gen AI maintains, please note, anonymity, promoting candid responses from employees. So this gives a better understanding of the employee. An employee also is able to comprehend or understand more in more detail about the organization he or she is planning to work for. So when you look into the Gen AI in case of survey and feedback, the analysis of this data enables the human resource management team to pinpoint areas for enhancement, thereby improving the overall employee experience. When you look into the role of GAI in other functions like training and development, please note one of the most critical aspects would be continuous learning. Continuous learning, skill development are vital for both employee growth and organizational process. There is no denying the fact. When you look into Gen AI, it has reshaped how training programs are designed and delivered within organizations. So when you look into Gen AI, it can give personalized learning experience. Gen AI evaluates employee skills, job functions, learning styles to critically develop customized training modules. So what happens is that these modules are designed to meet specific individual requirements, providing employees with relevant and focused training content. So tailored learning pathways boost the effectiveness of the training programs undoubtedly, resulting in better skill development and retention. Another possibility is interactive learning. When you look into interactive learning, Gen AI creates engaging learning modules that include simulations, that include quizzes, real world scenarios, scenario planning, case studies, etc. So this method captures employees' interest, promotes active involvement, and to a certain extent enhances the overall enjoyment and effectiveness of the learning experience. You also get some real-time support with respect to Gen AI during training sessions. Employees may have questions, naturally, or need clarifications on certain subjects. So that is a possibility. Gen AI offers immediate assistance by addressing inquiries and supplying explanations, which improves the overall training experience. There is a possibility again of quick access to information that facilitate a seamless progression through the training program. When you look into a role of Gen AI in HRM specific to HR analytics and decision making, please note data analysis and reporting is fundamental for any human resource management to succeed and sustain. So Gen AI systems examine the human resource data, including employee performance indicators specifically. That is the core data analysis that will be happening. Turnover rates may also be noted. Engagement levels can be measured. So these are some of the metrics possible that are analyzed within the frame of HR analytics and decision making. So when you look into this data analysis, these reports provide crucial insights into something like workforce trends, helping HR professionals recognize the patterns and make informed decisions. So by automating the analysis of data, please note Gen AI conserves time, conserves resources, allowing the HR teams to concentrate on strategic initiatives. Then you have the possibility of predictive analytics. We have discussed this in the previous module. So very quickly, GenAI algorithms analyze historical data to forecast the future trends, enabling organizations to foresee challenges and take proactive measures. Predictive analytics can estimate employee turnover, uncover potential skill shortages, and enhance the workforce planning. So, these insights allow HR managers to formulate strategies that reduce risks and seize opportunities, helping the organizations maintain a competitive edge in the market. When you look into Gen AI, specifically HR analytics, we have the most critical tool of sentiment analysis. Now, this is vital because Gen AI conducts sentiment analysis on employee feedback, on social media mentions, on various textual data sources, whatever is available and fed to it. So, by understanding employee sentiments, HR professionals can assess the overall atmosphere within the organization. Positive sentiments suggest a thriving work environment, whereas negative sentiments indicate areas that typically need attention. So, Gen AI analyzes this textual data and produces sentiment analysis reports that inform HR strategies aimed at improving employee morale and satisfaction. So, when you are using systems like, let's say, ChatGPT for that matter, it has become essential in human resource management practice nowadays. So, their applications in recruitment, be it in employee engagement, be it in training as we have seen, and even HR analytics that we have seen, they have streamlined the process, boosted efficiencies undoubtedly, and enhanced the employee experience. So, by automating tasks, facilitating personalized interactions, and providing actionable insights, Gen AI enables HR professionals to concentrate on strategic initiatives that typically foster organizational growth. Now, let's look into AI for strategic human resource management. As I have already mentioned that we have limitations with respect to the use of certain tools for hands-on experience, but I'll try to make it more immersive in terms of learning. So with respect to that, I'm providing some screenshots. Let's do one typical case of how we can use AI for strategic human resource management. Now, when you look into, let's say, ChatGPT, most of you would have been well versed with this, or some of you would have at least had certain acquaintance with this, or maybe some of you are just new to it. So, for the people who are new to it, please go to chatgpt.com. You will get something like this as a portal or as an interface. So, basically, what can I help with? You can put the message. There are different possibilities and options like create image, analyze image, make a plan, analyze data, more options, etc. So this is what you generally see. I'm pretty sure that 90% of the audience here would be knowing it, but again, I would like to take everyone with me in the class. So that's why typically whoever has not gone to it, this would be the interface. It looks something like this. Now let's look into some simple prompts. Provide required prompt and click enter. Let's say you are giving us an input, provide a list of reasons why employees leave my company. So it will be good especially for small businesses or maybe entrepreneurs, etc. So when you give a prompt like this, ideally what people who have seen what would come up. So for the people who are here for the first time, there might be options coming something like this. There are list of options that will come as a result. ChatGPT generates this response to your prompt. So it comes like this. Here are some common reasons why employees might leave a company. Something like this would be given. It would be listed down 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So you have within a fraction of a second you have 9 points, like let's say starting from lack of career growth, inadequate compensation, to all the way to lack of autonomy. So these are some of the possible responses that would come. Again, it depends a lot on the profile, on the data that it is trained on. Now when you ask something like one particular point, provide a list of reasons why employee leave my company, you would get that. From that, if you give specifically, provide for number 3, what are the ways to solve it? This is the input you are going to give. Let's say number 3 is work-life imbalance. I hope you would read it. Long hours, high stress, or difficulty balancing work with personal life, may lead employees to leave for the roles and more flexibility. So basically, you're giving a prompt for number 3, what are the typical ways to solve it. The moment you click it, there might be a lot of options that again is coming up. For number 3, what are the ways to solve it? So to address work-life imbalance and prevent employees from leaving due to this reason, companies can implement several strategies to create a healthier balance between work demands and personal life. Like that, they are giving mainly 1, 2, 3 points, etc. There are some sub points also. Now, when you have this in your screen, you can look for some specific indicators. What are the, let's say, key indicators to find if the employees are leaving due to inadequate compensation? Out of this, let's say, if compensation is one significant factor, what are the key indicators to find if employees are leaving due to inadequate compensation? So again, you have a list of items to identify whether employees are leaving due to inadequate compensation. Several key factors and science can help pinpoint this issue. So here are some of the most common indicators. So you have different indicators listed again in front of you, from exit interview feedback, high turnover among top performers, employee surveys and feedback, limited internal applications for promotions, etc. Now, these would be some of the way to go ahead. So I will certainly advise you to go and explore. People who have done it well and good. For the people who are here for the first time, I would definitely sincerely request you kindly go and explore. You will have a lot of responses, lot of answers to your queries, no doubt about it. Now, when you look into Gen AI, we have to discuss about the typical challenges of Gen AI in HRM. The first and the foremost one which we have seen would be ethical implications. The incorporation of AI technologies itself, particularly Gen AI models like ChatGPT, has led to significant changes in various sectors, including HRM, which we have unequivocally established. Now, created by OpenAI, ChatGPT is a sophisticated language model designed to produce text that resembles human writing based on the provided input. We have seen it. But that said, there are certain challenges associated with Gen AI, and not only ChatGPT, all such related tools and techniques or technologies. The first and the foremost one would be ethical implication, what it is having. Let's say one of the main challenges would be this in incorporating the Gen AI into HRM, because AI systems like Gen AI, ChatGPT depend on large data sets that frequently include sensitive employee information. I have already established a point of privacy. So please note, we are looking into a large data set which typically includes sensitive employee information. So it is essential to protect the privacy and security of this data, to avoid unauthorized access, and to a great extent the misuse of that. So additionally, ethical dilemmas arise regarding content produced by AI. Not only the data part, but also the output is also created. So it is also having a forward point and a backward point. When you are looking into ethical dilemmas that arise out of regarding content produced by AI, which can obscure the distinction between human and machine generated communication, please note, potentially resulting in misinformation or misrepresentation. So this is one of the typical challenge which we again have given some insight into in our previous module. Another certain aspect like that would be bias and discrimination. You are looking into bias and discrimination. Gen AI acquires knowledge from data on which it is trained. And if this data contains biases, a point which I try to re-emphasize every time, the model may reproduce and even magnify them. So biases could be anything, let's say from something concerning gender, race, ethnicity, and even demographic factors within HRM data can affect to a certain extent the decision making process. So to prevent these biases from being reinforced and to avoid discriminatory practices, it is crucial to monitor and curate the content generated by AI carefully. Another important aspect when I talked about contextual learning is that contextual understanding. When you look into GAI, Human communication is complex, there is no doubt about it, and it depends a lot on context. It depends a lot on tone, tenor, non-verbal signals for precise understanding. So when you are using Gen AI, whatever be the level of sophistication, let's say a tool like ChatGPT is having, it can have difficulty in capturing these nuances. So in HRM, it is essential to understand an employee's emotional state. It is essential to understand and detect sarcasm. It is essential to navigate intricate personal relationships. So these are some of the critical aspects which has been coming up as a challenge with respect to Gen AI. So Gen AI models need to be refined to identify these subtleties to provide meaningful and empathetic responses in typical HRM situations. Another significant challenge would be trust and user acceptance. That is again significant because even with the progress made, Gen AI models encounter difficulties like producing incorrect or unrelated information. As I mentioned, there are some times when the responses are not what you expect or below standard, or not the things which are not in line with what your expectation is. So basically, for a smooth specific trust and user acceptance, that particular thing would come up as a hindrance. So both employees and HR professionals must feel confident that AI systems can accurately and confidently address their inquiries and concerns. So if this trust element is not there, then the whole sustenance of Gen AI models would be a question. To build this trust, it is essential to communicate transparently about AI's capabilities and limitations, regularly incorporate the user feedback, and promptly address any issues that come up as a result. So if trust is lacking, please note, employees may be reluctant to participate in any AI-driven HR processes, and this would be detrimental to the whole system, which could impede the advantages of automation and efficiency. Another significant challenge would be technological limitations. Seldom we talk about a lot of other things, but seldom do we talk about the technological limitations. Even with the progress made, these Gen AI models encounter difficulties like all the unrelated information sometimes comes in. So in the context of HRM, disseminating inaccurate data can actually create confusion and to a certain extent frustration among employees. So to maintain accuracy, to maintain reliability, it is essential to implement ongoing monitoring, feedback mechanisms, and regular updates to the foundational algorithms. So please note, another significant aspect or problem or challenge would be the integration. Incorporating Gen AI into current HRM systems poses certain technical difficulties because there could be some intricate workflows that are associated with that. Some databases and software applications would be very sophisticated and complex. So for a smooth integration, substantial technical knowledge is required to tackle compatibility issues, data synchronization challenges, and customization demands. So AI developers and HR professionals need to work together to ensure that AI functionalities align with the need of the organization. Another significant factor would be the impact of the human role. The use of generative AI to specifically automate HR brings up the questions regarding human role, specifically in job displacement. So as I've already mentioned, there were already initiatives when the computer came, when the internet came in, that it may look into or it may displace the available job, or human beings may perish with respect to their jobs. So the job security naturally comes up as a critical issue. So although AI improves efficiency, there is a possibility that it could result in job losses. So to mitigate these concerns, it's important to focus on upskilling the HR personnel and highlighting the value of human judgment, human creativity and emotional intelligence, etc. So, as I mentioned, sometimes you are too dependent on Gen AI models that your creativity goes for a toss. So, this should not be the case. There are also challenges with respect to legal compliance. Please note that when you are looking into Gen AI, adhering to various legal frameworks is crucial. It is vital to comply with regulations concerning something like data protection, data privacy, and anti discrimination to a great extent, because to prevent legal repercussions. So, strong partnership between HR professionals and AI developers is vital to effectively navigate this intricate environment specifically. Then you have the cybersecurity concerns. AI integration increases the susceptibility to cybersecurity threats, cybersecurity issues, etc. Safeguarding AI systems requires robust cybersecurity measures. So, encryption protocols should be there, continuous monitoring to identify and mitigate risk promptly should be there. Also, finally, you have a certain barrier of psychological and social impact. Now, this is vital because the extensive use of AI in HRM can lead to both psychological and societal effects. HR professionals must take proactive steps to alleviate any unease among employees using AI and to address the broader societal implications on the job trends and economic frameworks. Finally, we move to the list of do's and don'ts for using AI in HRM. Let's quickly look into that. What are the do's? Please clearly define the HR domain and ask targeted questions to produce specific answers, as I already mentioned. So, providing a complete picture of the organization and the context, including, let's say, something like as specific as industry, size, policies, allows AI to offer tailored advice. Employ precise HRM terminology that aligns responses with industry norms and aids in receiving relevant and actionable insights. So, please note, sometimes you go off the tangent because you are not giving the context, you are not specifying the context, you are not giving the sufficient details for the Gen AI models to actually capture the relevant situation. There has to be some articulation with respect to the goals to direct the AI tool to provide broad guidance or detailed steps specifically. You can also look into seeking recommendations with supporting evidence from credible sources. This will ensure typically that the advice that you are getting would be practical and would be grounded in successful practices. There's a demand and explanation for AI's conclusions to ensure transparency and informed decision making. Again, this will come up as a do. Respect the confidentiality in AI interactions to protect personal and company data. Also, keep up with the HRM trends, regulatory updates, and the AI developments that are happening within the environment, within the industry. Verify suggestions and implement safeguards against the risk of implementing flawed or outdated advice. Finally, sharpen iterative communication with AI through iterative conversation. So, please note that will increase the detailing, that will increase the sophistication, and no doubt that will increase the quality of response, leading to better informed HR decisions. When you have do's, you also have some list of don'ts for using generative AI in HRM. Please do not remove the human from the process. The expert judgment of well-trained HRM professionals cannot be replaced by AI, which should serve as an aid rather than a substitute. Do not accept AI's decision without scrutiny, because they may be biased or they might be based on incomplete data that may reinforce existing prejudices, stereotyping in functions such as hiring and promotion. Also, please note, do not assume AI responsibly protects sensitive information. Please do not assume that. Refrain from including personally identifiable information, because that assumption, if you are making, it will definitely lead to an error. And finally, do not use AI hoping that it will replace human empathy and ethical decision making. It does not. Please note, it will not. So there is this human element that never should be discounted for. It should be taken seriously, and this is where the future of GAI or generative AI comes in. It is all about holding significant promise. It holds a significant promise for revolutionizing the whole landscape with respect to human resource management. When you look into AI powered tools specifically, it can conduct a lot of things, starting from preliminary interviews to providing insights to giving some critical understanding about the employee, their performance, their attitude, the way they perform, or what they are skilled in for. So all these aspects will be typical and will be critical in actually guiding the future of generative AI. You look into generative AI, it can revolutionize employee training. We have seen that. It can give personalized, tailor-made training possibilities by analyzing, let's say, the performance data. Where is the person lacking? Where are the individuals not performing? Based on that, maybe it is a soft skill training that is required. Maybe it is some technical training that is required. The managers or the management can give some initiatives, can have some intervention with respect to the AI inclusion. Additionally, AI can monitor employee engagement, how well the person is connected with the organization, what is the lacuna, what are the problems that the individual is facing. Based on that, he can definitely or she can definitely bring in a lot of change. The management can have intervention. Let's say there is a segment of people that are not engaged with the work, maybe some sort of task that is given with respect to depending upon each other, or maybe some task which has a certain element of knowledge sharing. This will enhance their performance, no doubt about it. So finally, you look into the Gen AI, it standardizes evaluations. There are possibility of promoting a wider range of candidates, a lot of diversity that can come in. So future of Gen AI is bright. Gen AI undoubtedly will streamline HRM operations, fostering a dynamic and inclusive workforce that drives organizational success. So when you talk about Gen AI, please note, as I already mentioned, there could be a possibility that sometimes your core skills, be it your creativity, be it your communication, might take a backseat. But please note, it is a technology and it should be used accordingly. It should be used for your help. It should be coming for your aid rather than you getting surrendered or you becoming a victim of that particular technology. On that note, we'll end today's discussion. We'll see more of AI in HRM details in the coming sections. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.